The forgotten protocol, the ancient beacon floated silently in the void between stars, its hull scarred by 4 centuries of cosmic dust and radiation. Dr. Vextar adjusted his scanner's frequency, trying to penetrate the mysterious metal that seemed to absorb energy rather than reflect it. The Zenthari archaeologist had spent his entire career studying the ruins humanity had left behind. But this discovery was different. This beacon was still active. Another dead human artifact. Admiral Kresh growled from the bridge of the Dreknari warship Bloodclaw. The reptilian commander's scales rippled with impatience. We should be hunting pirates, not chasing ghost stories. Vextar ignored the admiral's complaints. His 6-fingered hands moved across the control panel with practiced precision, finally finding the right frequency. The beacon's surface suddenly came alive with pulsing lights, and a holographic display materialized in the space between them. The image was unmistakably human, a species the galaxy hadn't seen in living memory. The figure wore a simple uniform, her dark skin marked with scars that spoke of hard battles fought and won. When she began to speak, her words carried the weight of prophecy. If you are receiving this message, then we are gone, and you have ignored every warning we left behind. The woman's voice was calm, but her eyes held a terrible sadness. The Devourers are returning. We tried to tell you. We tried to prepare you, but you would not listen. The hologram flickered, showing star charts and tactical displays that made Admiral Kresh lean forward despite himself. We have done everything we could to give you a chance. The network is in place, the Guardians sleep, but they will wake when the time comes. Do not make our sacrifice meaningless. The message ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Vexatar felt his breathing apparatus flutter with excitement. This was the breakthrough he had been searching for. Proof that humanity's disappearance wasn't an accident or defeat, but a deliberate strategy. Fascinating, he whispered, recording everything. Admiral, we must report this to the Coalition immediately. The humans left us more than ruins. They left us warnings. Kresh snorted, his predatory features twisting into a sneer. The humans were weak. That's why they're extinct. Whatever destroyed them is long gone, just like they are. But even as he spoke, the Admiral's tactical mind was analyzing the star charts from the message. The positions matched current Coalition territory perfectly. Across the galaxy, similar beacons were awakening. On the dead world of Kepler Station, Coalition miners found entire facilities powering up for the first time in centuries. Ancient computers began transmitting data streams that overwhelmed communication networks. Most disturbing of all, every message carried the same core warning about something called the Devourers. Minister Qualson of the Galactic Coalition reviewed the reports with growing irritation. The insectoid politician's compound eyes glittered as she dismissed yet another urgent transmission from field teams. Humanity has been gone for 400 years, she declared to her assembled council. Whatever threats they imagined died with them. We will not panic our citizens over ancient ghost stories. But the ghost stories were becoming harder to ignore. Deep space monitoring stations detected massive gravitational anomalies at the galaxy's edge, distortions that matched no known natural phenomenon. Trade routes that had been safe for centuries suddenly went silent. Entire star systems stopped responding to communications. On the research station New Harmony, Vextar worked frantically to decode more human transmissions. His team had discovered that the beacons were part of a vast network, each one connected to others through quantum entanglement. The humans hadn't just left warnings. They had built an entire communication system that spanned the galaxy. Dr. Vexatar, his assistant, a young Altarian named Zeph, called out excitedly, "We're receiving a new signal. It's not a recording. Something is responding to our queries in real time." The voice that emerged from the speakers was artificial but unmistakably human in its speech patterns. "Greetings. I am Echo 7, Guardian Protocol Oversight AI. You have accessed the emergency beacon network. State your identity and current threat assessment." Vextar's hearts raced. A living human AI, dormant for centuries but still functional. "I am Dr. Vextar of the Zenthari Archaeological Institute. We've discovered your beacons and the warnings about the Devourers. Can you explain what threatens us, the Devourers? Are a parasitic species that consumes entire galaxies. Echo 7 responded without hesitation. They strip worlds of all organic matter, then move on to the next feeding ground. Our calculations indicated they would return to this galaxy within 400 to 500 years of our last encounter. Last encounter? Vextar pressed. You mean humanity fought them before? Humanity held the line, Echo 7 stated simply. We bought you. Time to grow, to develop, to become strong enough to help us stop them when they returned. But our warnings were ignored. Our alliance offers were rejected, so we implemented the Guardian Protocol. The AI's words sent chills through the research team. Humanity hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had gone into hiding, preparing for a threat the other species refused to acknowledge. Meanwhile, on the Coalition's capital world, Minister Qualzin was dealing with a crisis of growing proportions. The anomalies at the galaxy's edge were spreading, and entire sectors were reporting strange phenomena. Ships were disappearing, colonies were going dark, and still, the human beacons continued their warnings. Admiral Kresh stood before the emergency council, his massive frame tense with barely controlled aggression. Minister, my scouts have confirmed it. Something is coming from beyond our borders. My warriors are ready to fight, but we need to know what we're facing. Qualzin's mandibles clicked with annoyance. We are facing mass hysteria caused by ancient human propaganda. There is no credible threat that our combined fleets cannot handle. But even as she spoke, reports were flooding in from the outer rim. The research station Far Horizon had detected enormous shapes moving through dark space. Objects the size of small moons, but clearly artificial. When the station tried to get a closer look, it simply vanished from all sensors. Dr. Vextar was the first to make the connection. Echo 7, the disappearances at the galaxy's edge. Are those the Devourers? Affirmative, the AI replied. Devourer, advanced scouts. They survey potential feeding grounds before the main swarm arrives. You have perhaps 30 standard days before the full invasion begins. The weight of that revelation settled over the research team like a physical blow. 30 days to prepare for an enemy that had supposedly defeated humanity at the height of their power. What can we do? Zeph asked, his voice barely a whisper. You can listen, Echo 7 said. For the first time in 4 centuries you can listen to what humanity tried to tell you. The Guardian Protocol is activating. Our hidden fleets are waking up. Our defensive networks are coming online. But we cannot do this alone. We tried that before. Vextar leaned forward, hope and desperation warring in his chest. What do you need from us? Trust, Echo 7 replied. And the courage to admit that. You were wrong to ignore us. The beacons you've been finding. They're not just warnings, they're invitations to join the network we built to defend this galaxy. But you have to choose to be part of it. Across Coalition space, the beacons were broadcasting constantly now. Their signals impossible to ignore. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had never seen a living human were forced to confront the reality that their absent neighbors had been trying to protect them all along. Minister Qualzin watched the reports pile up on her desk. Military commanders, demanding action, scientists confirming impossible readings, and politicians from every member species calling for emergency sessions. The evidence was overwhelming, but admitting she had been wrong would mean admitting that the Coalition's greatest mistake was dismissing humanity's warnings. In the depths of space, something stirred. Ancient human installations that had been dark for centuries began to glow with renewed purpose. Automated factories started producing ships and weapons using technology the rest of the galaxy had never seen. And deep in hidden bunkers on forgotten worlds, humans who had volunteered for centuries-long stasis began to wake up. The galaxy had ignored every warning about the coming storm. Now the storm was here, and humanity's silent watchers were finally ready to break their silence. Admiral Kresh received the transmission while his fleet was investigating another disappearance. The voice was human, but unlike the AI they had encountered before. This was organic, alive, and filled with quiet determination. Coalition forces, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Network. We know you can hear us. We know you've found our beacons. The enemy is here. and we're running out of time for politics and pride. Either we work together, or we all die together. Your choice." The transmission ended, leaving Kresh staring at readings that showed human ships emerging from hidden bases throughout the sector. Ships that had been waiting in the dark for 400 years, maintained by AIs and automated systems ready for the day their crews would wake up to fight one last battle. As the first reports of actual Devourer contact reached Coalition headquarters, Minister Qualsin finally understood the magnitude of what they faced. The creatures that emerged from dark space were nightmares made real, living ships that fed on entire worlds, guided by a hunger that had consumed galaxy after galaxy. The warnings had been real. The threat was here, and humanity's watchers were the only thing standing between the Coalition and extinction. When giants wake, the Devourer scout ship was unlike anything in Coalition databases. Captain Sarah Chen studied the tactical display aboard the human destroyer Eternal Vigilance, watching as the biomechanical horror consumed the mining station at Epsilon Fornax. The creature was the size of a battleship, but it moved with organic fluidity, extending tendrils that stripped away metal, rock, and flesh with equal efficiency. "All Coalition vessels, maintain distance," Chen transmitted on open channels. "Do not engage alone. These scouts are designed to learn from your weapons and adapt." Admiral Kresh's voice crackled back with barely contained fury. "Human, my warriors do not flee from any enemy. We will show these parasites the strength of Dreknari steel." "Admiral, please," Dr. Vextar interrupted from his position aboard Kresh's flagship. "Listen to them. They've fought these things before." But Kresh was already moving, his dreadnought Bloodclaw charging toward the Devourer with weapons blazing. Plasma cannons and missile batteries struck the creature's hull, but instead of damage, the impacts seemed to feed it. The Devourer's surface rippled and changed, developing new armor plating that rendered subsequent attacks useless. "Predictable," Chen muttered. She had seen this pattern before, in the recordings left by her predecessors. Echo 7, initiate suppression. Protocol Gamma, show them how it's done. The human destroyer's weapons were different from anything the Coalition had seen. Instead of brute force, they fired concentrated streams of exotic particles that disrupted the Devourer's ability to adapt. The creature writhed in apparent pain, its feeding tendrils retracting as it tried to process this new form of attack. "Now, Admiral," Chen called out, "hit it with everything while it's confused. You have maybe 30 seconds before it adapts again." Kresh didn't need to be told twice. The Bloodclaw unleashed its full arsenal, this time targeting the weak points Chen's weapons had exposed. The Devourer scout exploded in a burst of bioluminescent fluid, but even in death, it transmitted data back to the main swarm. "Well done," Chen said, genuine respect in her voice. "But that was just one scout. The main swarm has over 10,000 ships, some larger than your capital cities." Dr. Vextar felt his breathing apparatus constrict with fear. 10,000? How did humanity ever fight such numbers? "We didn't fight them directly." Echo 7's voice joined the conversation from communication nodes throughout the fleet. "We used strategy, preparation, and sacrifice. The Guardian Protocol wasn't designed to destroy the Devourers. It was designed to trap them." Sarah Chen's image appeared on screens throughout the Coalition fleet. The human captain looked older than her apparent age, her eyes carrying the weight of knowledge passed down through generations of warriors. 400 years ago, my ancestors discovered that the Devourers follow predictable migration patterns. They consume a galaxy, then move on to the next one, leaving the stripped worlds to slowly recover over millions of years. She gestured to a holographic star map that showed the galaxy's spiral arms. "We couldn't beat them in open battle, so we built something else, a trap. The network you've been finding isn't just communication beacons and weapon platforms. It's the largest construction project in galactic history." The map zoomed out, revealing the true scope of humanity's plan. Spread throughout the galaxy were thousands of installations, each one connected to the others through quantum entanglement. Together they formed a massive web that could redirect gravitational forces on a galactic scale. "A gravity net," Vextar breathed in amazement. You're going to trap the entire swarm in a pocket of folded space. Exactly, Chen confirmed. But it requires precise timing and massive energy input. Every beacon, every platform, every hidden base has to activate simultaneously, and we need someone to guide the Devourers into the trap. The implications hit Admiral Kresh like a physical blow. You need bait. Someone has to get close enough to make them follow. Not someone, Chen corrected quietly. Everyone. The trap only works if the Devourers commit their entire swarm to feeding. They have to believe they're winning right up until the moment we spring it. Across Coalition space, the reality of the situation was sinking in. This wasn't a battle they could win through superior firepower or tactical genius. It was a sacrifice play on a galactic scale, requiring every species to risk everything for a chance at survival. Minister Qualzin found herself in the unprecedented position of having to ask for forgiveness. Her transmission reached every coalition, world simultaneously. Citizens of the galaxy, I was wrong. The humans tried to warn us, tried to prepare us, and we ignored them. Now they offer us a chance at survival, but it requires us to trust them completely. The response was swift and divided. Some species, like the Zinthari, embraced the alliance immediately. Others, proud warrior races like the Draknari, struggled with the idea of following human leadership. But as more Devourer scouts appeared, at the galaxy's edge the choice became clear: work together or face extinction alone. Captain Chen coordinated the alliance from the bridge of her flagship, now accompanied by vessels from dozens of species. The diversity was staggering: crystalline beings who communicated through light patterns, gas giant dwellers whose ships were living organisms, and mechanical races who had achieved consciousness through artificial evolution. The beauty of this moment, Echo 7 observed through the ship's speakers, is that we're seeing what the galaxy could have been if fear and pride hadn't divided us centuries ago. But there was no time for philosophy. Deep space sensors detected the main Devourer swarm, a writhing mass of biomechanical horror that blotted out stars as it moved. The creatures were ancient beyond comprehension, their hunger refined by eons, of consuming entire civilizations. All ships, this is Chen, the human captain broadcast. Remember, we're not trying to win, we're trying to survive long enough to make them believe they're winning. Stay mobile, hit and run, make them chase us toward the galactic core. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. Coalition fleets engaged the Devourers across thousands of light years, using human-designed tactics to stay one step ahead of annihilation. When traditional weapons failed, human technology provided alternatives. When alien ships were damaged, beyond repair, human AIs guided them to automated repair stations that had been hidden for centuries. Dr. Vextar found himself serving as a liaison between species, translating not just languages, but entire ways of thinking. The humans aren't trying to control us, he explained to a delegation of skeptical Altarian commanders. They're trying to save us. There's a difference. As the retreating coalition forces drew closer to the galactic core, the trap began to take shape. Gravity anchors that had been disguised as asteroids activated throughout the spiral arms. Hidden power stations that had been built inside gas giants came online. The very fabric of space began to warp as humanity's greatest engineering project prepared to activate. Devourer Prime is taking the bait, Echo 7 reported. The central swarm is moving toward the core, following our retreat pattern exactly as projected. Captain Chen watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. The largest Devourer ships were city-sized monsters that defied conventional physics, but they were following the ancient programming that had driven their species across the cosmos. They couldn't resist the promise of a fully populated galaxy, ripe for consumption. All stations report ready, came the confirmation from human AIs throughout the galaxy. Gravity net is stable, quantum anchors are locked. We have one shot at this. The moment of truth came as the last coalition ships retreated past the final checkpoint. Behind them, the Devourer swarm spread out like a living plague, already beginning to feed on the worlds they had conquered. Their victory roars echoed across space in frequencies that hurt to hear. Now, Chen commanded. 400 years of preparation activated in a single instant. The gravity net snapped closed like a cosmic spiderweb, creating a pocket of folded space that trapped the entire devourer swarm. The creatures found themselves caught in a gravitational maze with no exit, their own massive size working against them as they became anchored to the distorted space-time. The effort required to maintain the trap was enormous. Human installations throughout the galaxy overloaded and went dark as they poured their energy into the containment field. Ancient AIs that had waited centuries for this moment burned out their circuits to keep the system stable. And on 1,000 worlds, human volunteers who had awakened from stasis gave their lives to operate the controls that held their enemies captive. But it worked. The devourers were trapped, contained in a prison of their own making. The immediate threat was over, but the cost had been terrible. Humanity's hidden civilization had sacrificed itself completely to save the galaxy they had once called home. In the aftermath, as rescue ships searched for survivors and damaged fleets limped back to safe harbors, the galaxy began to understand what they had lost and gained. The humans were gone again, this time truly extinct, but their gift remained. The trap would hold for millions of years, giving the galaxy time to grow, to learn, and to prepare for whatever other threats might emerge from the dark between stars. Captain Sarah Chen was among the few human survivors, kept alive by her ship's automated medical systems long enough to see the mission's success. Her final transmission became a legend among the species she had helped save. "We told you the storm was coming," she said, her voice growing weaker with each word. "We tried to prepare you. In the end, we did what we had to do. Take care of each other. Don't let our sacrifice be meaningless, and if something like this ever threatens the galaxy again, remember that sometimes the greatest strength comes from knowing when to work together." The galaxy that emerged from the Devourer War was fundamentally changed. The coalition evolved into something more, a true alliance built on mutual respect and shared sacrifice. Species that had been enemies for millennia found common ground in their gratitude to humanity's guardians. Dr. Vexitar established the Institute of Human Studies, dedicated to preserving the knowledge and wisdom of the species that had saved them all. Admiral Kresh became the first non-human to command a ship built with human technology, carrying on their tradition of vigilant protection. And throughout the galaxy, the beacons that had once carried warnings now transmitted a different message, a reminder that heroes sometimes come from the most unexpected places, and that the greatest victories are often won by those who choose to stand watch in the darkness, waiting for the moment when their sacrifice can make all the difference. The often silent watchers were gone, but their vigil continued in the hearts and minds of those they had saved. The galaxy would never forget the debt it owed to the species it had once ignored, and in that memory, humanity achieved the only immortality that truly mattered: the knowledge that they had given everything to ensure others could live free.